so hungry. That looks good. Where'd you get that from?
Remember.
What do you mean you don't remember? Where'd you get it from?
I don't know where I got it from.
Just think about it. Reggie.
What?
My blood sugar is so low. You know how I get when my blood sugar is low?
No, I don't know how you get when your blood sugar. Oh my God! Okay, here. Take it. Oh my God. Okay. Oh. What just happened?
Hey folks, Reggie McGuire, Film Therapy, my brother Nathaniel McGuire, and our illustrious leader, Dija Henry. Today we are going to review the movie Without Remorse. This is a film that was released on Amazon during the pandemic. It was released on April 30th, 2021, directed by Stefano Sollima, produced by a whole gaggle of folks. It was starring Michael B. Jordan, the main star, and I think part of the reason that the three of us watched it. In terms of the fun facts for this film, this movie really is the cinematic adaptation of Tom Clancy's military fiction novel of the same name, which is part of the sprawling Jack Ryan universe, or the Ryanverse. That's new to me.
I didn't know about that either.
The Ryanverse. Quick synopsis. Seeking justice for the murder of his pregnant wife, an elite Navy SEAL uncovers a covert plot that threatens to engulf the United States and Russia in an all-out war. Sounds good, doesn't it? Actually, it was good. So we talked a little bit about this film, and this film we thought was one that was, well, I'm not going to put words in your mouth. Dija, how did this film make you feel?
It was a fun film. I mean, I enjoy these types of films, with like a revenge genre film, lots of action. I think one thing that really stood out to me is, you know, if you watch Michael B. Jordan's interviews, he says in one that he told his agents that he doesn't want to be submitted for black roles. He will make a role black because he is black. And so he wanted to expand what he could play. And for me, I felt like he achieved that in a role that is typically played by a white man. And that also it was inherently black because he is, just like he said. So I think in terms of me being an actor as well, I thought that was really cool. But also, in the beginning, they really kind of dive into his life, his wife, the baby, his family, his uncle. Like, I really liked that scene where he's with his family. And it reminded me of my family. I was just with my family this weekend. You know, it's just like a house full of family, except we've got jerk chicken, curry chicken, oxtail, you know, a few little different things at the table. But yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. Of course, he did a great job acting. The end, you know, when you listen to Film Therapy, we just gotta let you know we're gonna talk about the whole movie. In the end, I wasn't sure how I felt, but talking to you guys and hearing that this could open up the possibility of more movies, which would be great to see Michael B. Jordan doing more of this stuff. He's such a great action actor. He's a great actor and so physically gifted in action work, fighting and military and all that stuff. So yeah, I just think it was fun. It was a fun film. That aside, I just really thought it was cool what he has accomplished for himself with his own goals.
Okay, I can see that. No, thanks for your input there. How about you, Nathan? I'll ask first, you know, what did you think about the film? And then you can tell us about, from your perspective, this film, how does it impact someone in terms of how their brain works, or even maybe them in culture, or just a reflection on the film and how that comes into play?
It just reminded me growing up, you know, playing with guns with my friends and playing war. And you know, it reminds me of all those kind of Rambo films, or I felt like I've seen this film, of course, a million times. It just had Michael B. in it. Yeah. You know, and so I was kind of excited to see him play that kind of, you know, tough guy role. But I think one of the things that those kind of films typically do is they take a male, typically a white male, and they make him somehow rebel against the system and get revenge on the system. So of course I think it's no better person than a black man to play that, right? Like he finds out pretty much something going on, and he gets revenge. I think it's always cathartic to watch somebody else get revenge. It feels good. Kind of remind me of Django, the way that in that movie there's this whole process of getting revenge in a way that you're imagining. Could someone ever get revenge like that and then ride off and be the hero, right? So I felt it was cathartic in that way. And then, you know, Michael B. Jordan is just, ever since Black Panther, Killmonger, I think everybody wants to see him kick ass. I'm sorry, am I allowed to say that?
Yes.
But yeah, you know, it's part of what I meant when I said I wanted to see Harriet Tubman have pieces of that, you know, just being really tough and strong and by herself, and having a way of showing how awesome, because once again, right, this is fiction. Yeah. And she was real. So, but they had all those elements I want to see of somebody being tough and doing things you don't think a person is capable of. My very favorite scene actually is when he's in prison and he's preparing himself to go to war. And it's like, man, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. I want to see a scene like that there, you know. And you know, in every aspect of scenes like that, they didn't let you down, I don't think, in this movie. So I thought it was a really fun movie to watch. But I feel what Dija's saying, too, like at the end, it's kind of like, you know.
But don't you think the only thing at the end that kind of got me was that kind of reflected cultures when he made him say her name. And so we see that a lot right now, like reminding people to say the names of the people that have been abused and killed by police brutality.
Just to humanize them.
Say her name. And so I think the whole film, it was what it was. You know, you were able to just follow the character and follow his story. But that kind of brought it out a little bit into reality for me.
That's that cathartic thing of getting revenge, right? To that degree, I really enjoyed that piece of it. But yeah, that's very powerful. Say her name like that. I love that part of it, and it did make you think about even like the Black Lives Matter and all those things. And I wonder too. I want to do research to see was that Michael B. Did he make sure that was done and said, you know, because Killmonger had a way of doing that, bringing those pieces up.
He was one of the producers.
Okay, well then probably.
Maybe.
So he probably had some kind of.
He always has those statements in his that make you. That he lets you know he's an African American in his films, and he brings those statements out, and only an African American could say it that way, you know. So yeah,
there are certain nuances that he, as a performer, brought to the film that if there's another actor, those nuances wouldn't be there, which kind of brings us a little bit to like the whole storytelling element. I mean, clearly it's not a new story. Literally, I mean, it was just adaptation of a book, and I think sometimes some of the challenges are this particular character. He is strong along many different storylines, so it's really interesting that to see Michael B. kind of be infused in that and allow his particular personality to fill in that particular character, which for many of us, especially folks of color, to be able to see someone on screen in that particular role. It's so rare that sometimes that is even just the novelty of seeing how it is portrayed that way. But I think he did a really good job. I think the way that even the character was written, it seems like every single thing that character did after that inciting incident of his wife being killed, every single thing that he did was to find who did what, to find what happened. Yeah. So even that one scene, he was prepared. He knew that in order for him to accomplish that goal, he had to have that scene in prison. And so, he had to be prepared and knowing that he's always thinking 3 steps ahead. And once I get this done, then I have to do this, that, and the other thing. So I think that was sometimes really interesting to watch a story unfold that way, especially for many folks who like this type of story. They like to kind of see the character thinking a few steps ahead and try to assume what's going to happen, see how they get out, and see if it's authentic.
You know who stole the show from me? It was Jodie Turner-Smith. She
Sorry.
that pause was on purpose. It was a Meisner pause.
He said, "Girl, that pause was on purpose." You know what I'm doing?
I was trying to be dramatic.
Yeah, you were a little too dramatic. I think got me.
But speaking of drama,
Yes.
she did great.
Yeah, she
I
did.
just thought, like, wow, that not only Michael B. Jordan being black, but his commanding officer, and just seeing how they interacted. Man, she was just graceful, strong and graceful.
And again, very rare to see.
Yeah, very rare.
Someone
Very rare to see.
play that particular role. I have to say, and I think we talked a little bit about this, I couldn't help but think about, man, if the Dora Milaje were in this film, what would they do?
Right.
But that's a good thing. I mean, how many opportunities have we had to see someone on screen and then think of another person? We see like a strong black woman in that particular role and think, oh, that kind of reminds me of another character that did that. 4 or 5 years ago, we wouldn't even had that reference point to think about the Dora Milaje. Oh,
And
man.
you know what was crazy is when it happens, like you were talking about, when it happens, it's like, little bites here and there, but to see them on screen at the same time holding the whole scene, the two of them, it wasn't a romantic relationship. They weren't talking. It was a woman and a man, black woman, black man, commanding officer, subordinate officer, and they were discussing something of, their work or their revenge or whatever it was. And so that's so rare. And you forget. But then you're like, oh my gosh, there's like 2 black people on screen, like at the same time, because sometimes it feels like, oh, well, it's, the character's already taken, we can't have any more. So I was, I find myself emotional. I see it happen more. Like, I'm seeing a few more times on mainstream TV shows, and I'm just like, dang, I'm getting emotional. Like when I saw Wonder Woman, and I saw women being so strong and fighting and running and flipping and like stuff I used to do in gymnastics. And I'm like, dang, like I've been so hungry for this, And so yeah, she stole the show from me.
No, that's good.
One of the scenes I remember for that point where you just realize like how rare. So when you see it, it's almost traumatizing because you realize you hardly ever see it. Is she was in a battle with a man, and your heart is racing because you're like, are they going to allow her to kick this man's ass herself? Or is he going to have to like rescue her? Because she's already a badass herself, right? And I'm just watching. What are they going to do at this moment? And she was the badass that she should have been. And she handles it herself. And he basically is like, that's my girl right there. Like, so those different pieces just stand out because they are, they're so rare. But I love what you're saying. To me, I think I would summarize that. One of the scenes is on the airplane. It's like this just... watching them interact is this mutual respect. It's just respect. Two characters that are both respected, and they're keeping that. They're not flirting or saying something sexual or having a way to put one another down or supersede each other. There's this mutual respect of how they're connecting. And yeah, you're just like you're always waiting inwardly for when is it going to come where we're disrespected on screen in front of everyone, and we disrespect one another. But you have a black man and a black woman just connecting in a very respectful way. So you're so right, Dija. The way in which that it affects the body, from tears to just admiration to being inspired to see people that look like you maintaining respect throughout the entire film, right? Yeah. So, but of course, we know why, right? Who had input on that in the characters, right? So that makes a big difference.
Yep. And I do want to add, Guy Pearce he always plays a great villain.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, he does. Almost to the point of being typecast. But hey, if you know your role,
and
you know your lane, then yeah. Interesting, like, so even thinking about that, sometimes like in these films, it takes a while for you to build up some sense of care for like the main character. And I think they did a really good job in this one, just kind of showing him as a human being with family. So by the time he loses his wife, it means something. instead of just kind of rushing to that as well, which is, I think that was the thing that helped the film and helped us kind of care for him and want him to succeed in whatever he was going to do, which is, that was an element. I mean, it's Tom Clancy. He's not going to get it wrong. Yeah. But you do see sometimes in action films where that's just, that part is like, you know, in terms of really caring for the character, it's not there, and you will lose some of your focus. But anyway, I think that was well done.
So was it a hit?
I think for me, I think it was, to me, it was a hit. It was a hit. What about you?
I think once I understand what I'm getting into, the type of genre, it's a hit. Because I wasn't like, okay, this is supposed to be a comedy. What's going on? So
Yeah.
for the genre of what it was, I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
And what about you?
Being able to be at home and see a shoot 'em up bang bang movie, it was definitely a hit. I have to go to the theater to see Michael Jordan do that shoot 'em up thing.
Right.
Yeah, I thought it was really good.
Right.
It didn't miss anything for me for that kind of movie. It hit
Okay.
all the, you know, you guys educate me on those different terms, but it hit those things.
Those things. Yeah. So even that part where they're kind of iffy, I know you had a question about like where's the resolution and all that, but kind of knowing what the end goal was, and there's opportunity now to kind of build on that is a good
Yep.
thing. So, well, that is another edition of Film Therapy during post-COVID quarantine. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next time.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.